Okay. We're going to do the Short Stories Collection, Volume 1. I'm hoping there's going to be a Volume 2 for that soon. There's a lot of these, apparently. Tuli, My Little Sister's Gotten Weird. A previously unpublished chapter that appeared in the web novel around the time of Part 1, Volume 1. Tuli muses that her younger sister has been acting strangely ever since recovering from her most recent fever. How did things seem from her perspective when mine started making hair sticks, shampoo, and the like? And the author's note. Mine's desperate for a bath, but has to make do with being wiped down. Meanwhile, Tuli struggles to understand why her little sister suddenly wants to wash every day. Please enjoy seeing the vast gap between their versions of common sense. My little sister Mine has long, straight hair, the color of the night sky, and eyes as golden as the moon. Even I think she's cute, and I'm her big sister. Mine has a problem, though. She's always sick and gets fevers. Because she's unwell, she doesn't eat, and because she doesn't eat, she doesn't grow. She never goes outside, so her skin's scarily pale, and she never plays with me. Even though I understand the reason, it makes me sad that I can't play with Mine like the other kids play with their brothers and sisters. She always says it's unfair that I get to go to the forest, but what I really want is for her to come with me. And it's not like it's my fault she's sick. Mine had a really, really high fever the other day. It got so bad that we thought she might die. Especially when she couldn't eat or drink anything for 3 days. I wonder if that fever's what made her go a little weird in the head. After my little sister's fever went down, she started saying all these odd words I didn't understand. She got mad over the weirdest things, and she was nowhere near as obedient as usual. Now, instead of staying in bed, she'd go through the house while we were washing dishes and stuff. After her most recent search, she spent a whole day sobbing about something I really didn't understand. Yeah, the whole book thing. Sorry, just making sure this thing is recording right. Back then, I thought her strange behavior was because of the fever, but after she fully recovered, she got even weirder. First of all, she began washing every single day. It all started when her fever went away, and she asked me to wipe her down because she was feeling super gross. I didn't think much of it at the time. She'd probably sweat a lot while she was sick, and she wasn't able to go to the river to wash herself. But every day after that, when we were heating water to make food, she had asked us to pour her some. On the first day she cleaned herself, the water ended up really dirty. By the third, it came out clean, yet she kept doing it every day. I mean it, every single day. That's just weird, right? I'd always give Mine a hand since she said there were some spots she couldn't reach on her own, but it just didn't make sense to me. Isn't it a waste to use hot water when you're not dirty, I asked. It's not a waste because I am dirty. No matter what I said, Mine kept washing herself every day. For some reason, she tried washing me as well. She started rubbing my face with the damn cloth even when I told her I was fine and didn't need it. According to her, I was dirtier than she was because I went outside. Yeah, especially the smell, because I'm sure you're going to smell like the outdoors, and since the outdoors smells like poop. Yeah, you're going to smell like poop. So, of course, she wants to clean you up. As usual, the warm water was still clean after Mine had a wash, but it went all dirty by the time I was finished. Seeing it actually made me a little uncomfortable, but Mine just smiled and said the water wasn't wasted if we both used it. How can I make her understand that she's wrong? She doesn't get how hard it is bringing buckets all the way up from the well. Mine's weirdness started to show in other ways, too, like she suddenly began trying to put her hair up. We'd attempted that with her before, but her hair was so straight that it never stayed in place no matter how tightly we bound it. Eventually, we'd just given up. But now here she was, trying all over again. She failed every single attempt, her cheeks puffed out in frustration. But then she started rummaging through my basket. It wasn't long before she pulled out my dearest treasure, a doll that our parents had worked together to make for me. Dad had shaped the wood while Mom had made the clothes. Tuli, can I snap this part off? That's her leg. You're so mean, Mine. How could she even think about doing something like that? I yelled at her and she apologized while hanging her head. Then she brushed aside her bangs and gave a heavy sigh. It was such a grown-up gesture that I actually gasped a little. She was only 5, so how did she act so much like an adult? Because she is an adult on the inside? Well, Tuli, she said, I want a stick like this. How can I get one? So she hadn't wanted the leg specifically. I could always make her a stick by cutting down some of our firewood, so I took out my knife and did just that, hoping to keep my precious doll safe. Mine was really picky about the stick she wanted. She asked me to make one a bit thinner without making it too sharp, but she was satisfied in the end. Thanks, Tuli. My little sister happily took the stick and then stabbed it right into her head. Mine, what are you doing? I cried. But while I was panicking, she started wrapping her hair around the stick. Somehow, using nothing but that piece of wood, she had managed to keep her tresses securely in place. It was magic, like the nobles used, but I was even more surprised that she'd gone for a grown-up hairstyle. You can't do that, Mine, I said. Only adults can put their hair up like that. Oh, I see, she replied, her eyes wide. It was the most obvious fact in the world, so I didn't know why she was acting so surprised. Well, I mean, considering the fact that you said yourself that she doesn't even get to leave the house, of course she's not going to know this. Your mom's hair is short, so... Wait, is her hair short? Or maybe it looks short to me, the way it's kept. It looks like a short cut. So she doesn't need to keep it up. That's what it looks like to me. Or maybe it is long and it's just so up so well that I can't even tell it's not short. I don't know. Mine pulled out the stick, letting her hair fall down. Then she put it back in and tried again, this time only tying back the top half. Is this better, she asked. I think so. From then on, mine always used that stick to secure her hair. It was pretty weird. From the side, it looked like he was stabbing into her head, but she seemed to like it. Mom had today off work and was looking after mine, which meant I could join everyone gathering in the forest. It had been forever since I'd last gone. We would pick up firewood, gather lots of fruit and mushrooms, and look for herbs that were good for flavoring meat. Everything we found would be important for our upcoming winter preparations, so all the kids worked their hardest. I really hope mine gets well soon so she can start coming with us. Mine welcomed me back when I got home. She seemed healthy today. What did you get? She asked, peering into my basket. Let me see. I'd gathered the same herbs and mushrooms as always, but she was looking at them like she was seeing them for the first time. Mine's acting so weird. All of a sudden, her eyes sparkled and she pulled out a marrow from the basket. Wow, can I have one of these? This was a surprise. I couldn't remember the last time she'd asked for something like that. I gave her 2. Thank you, Tuli. Mine rubbed the marrows against her cheek, smiling like an angel, then disappeared into the storage room. She came back a few moments later with a hammer, looking all excited. Before I could say anything else, she swung the hammer down on one of the marrows. There was a loud splat as juice squirted all over the place and all over me. Smashing some fruit with a hammer is obviously going to make juice and stuff shoot out all over the place, right? You shouldn't even need to think about it, right? Mine, why'd you do that? I asked with a very stern smile, not even wiping the juice from my face. She flinched and let out a weird "what" in response. You see, I wanted oil, so... Mine gazed up at me, her eyes hopeful and apologetic at the same time. She hadn't even thought about what might happen if she violently crushed the marrow. That's not how you get oil from fruit, I shouted. What's wrong with you? Oh. She looked sad, but I really had to wonder if she was okay in the head. Did she not remember us squeezing oil out of the fruit together just a couple weeks ago? I think her last fever actually made her go crazy. I should speak to Mom about this. Mama got to the well, and it was pretty obvious how she was going to react when she saw all the mess. I did my best to clean it up before she got back, but I didn't stand a chance. She soon came to the door and was just as angry as I'd expected. She yelled at me, too, which really wasn't fair. At times like this, mine wasn't cute at all. Tuli, mine said in a quiet voice, trying not to anger Mom any further. How do you get the oil out? Can you teach me? You're not being quiet at all, though. Look, Mom's already staring at us. Mom, can I teach mine? I asked. She sighed, well, go ahead. If you don't, I'm sure we'll end up with another mess. She pointed at the storage room where all the stuff we'd want was kept. I could tell she was still a bit annoyed, and so I took mine to the storage room. The first step was to show her all the equipment we needed. First things first, I said. You can't just smash the fruit on the table. The oil and juices will soak into the wood. You need to put it on this metal stand. Oh, and wrap some cloth around the fruit before you hit it. That way the bits won't fly all over the place. We want to keep the fleshy part to eat, but you can get oil from the seed inside. The oil from the seed won't be enough, though. I need it from the fruit as well. We tried crushing another marrow, this time using the proper method. Mine eagerly swung down the hammer again, but her aim was terrible, and her posture was all over the place. Plus, while she managed to smash the fruit, the seed inside wasn't breaking at all, and she wasn't strong enough to wring the cloth and squeeze out the rest of the juice. That's not good enough, I said. The seed isn't breaking, and there's no oil coming out. Aw, Tuli. Mom was giving me such a pathetic look that I decided to help. I took the hammer from her, but it was covered in so much juice that I could actually feel it sliding around in my hand. If I tried to swing it like this, it would probably end up halfway across the room. I wiped it clean and gripped it tight. To begin, crush the seed, like this. Dad didn't need to rely on a hammer or break the fruit into small pieces like we did. He could use juicing weights instead. We were too weak to use them ourselves, but that wasn't much of a surprise. Only boys were expected to have enough muscle to do tough jobs like that. Then squeeze the cloth like this. Wow, you're amazing, Tuli. It was cute to see mine celebrating over something as simple as oil dripping into a small cup. Her joy didn't make my arms hurt any less, though. Thanks, Tuli. You need to clean up now, mine. Don't be lazy. She floundered, looking all over the place like she didn't know how to. I taught her what to do while putting the tools away. It was easy to forget that mine was already 5 years old. She was so weak and very small, like a lot smaller than was normal. She only had 2 more years before her baptism at the temple, then she'd need to find apprentice work. I was only a year away from being baptized myself. Mine would need to start helping around the house when I became an apprentice, but how would she manage when she didn't even know how to find or use our tools? She was already at a disadvantage because she was so tiny. Would anyone hire her after seeing that she couldn't do any work either? I need to get Mom to stop being so soft on mine and start teaching her how to do things herself. Tuli, can I have some herbs too? Mine asked. Just a few, okay? Mine started carefully smelling the herbs I'd gathered, then took a few and added them to the bowl of marrow oil. I figured she was trying to improve the smell, but some of the leaves she picked were for getting rid of bugs and weren't appetizing at all. Wow, we should probably use that oil for dinner before mine gets all smelly. But as I reached for the bowl, mine stopped me with a crazy look in her eyes. No, Tuli, what are you doing? We have to eat it soon, right? Otherwise, those herbs you added were going to make it taste nasty. You can't eat it. No matter what I said, mine swung her head in protest and tried to keep the oil away from me. I looked to Mom for help. Mine, don't be selfish, she yelled. Tuli went out and gathered those herself. I'm not being selfish, mine cried. She gave them to me. That was true, but I didn't want any of the things I'd gathered to be wasted. This time, however, mine didn't back down no matter how furious Mom got. We eventually gave up on mine, then she asked for some more water. It was her usual request, but she looked especially excited for some reason. I poured some into the tub for her, then gawked as she dumped in some of the oil and started swishing it around. Mine, what are you doing? Washing my hair. Once again, I didn't have a clue what she was on about. She'd said and done so many weird things over the past few days, I continued to watch her, confused, as she dipped her hair into the tub and started rubbing the water into it. She splashed some of the water onto her scalp, too. Mine repeated this over and over until she was satisfied, then started squeezing her hair and dabbing it with a cloth until it was dry. From there, she used a comb, and it was then that I realized her hair was gleaming a lot more than I'd ever seen before. Mine, what's this? It's simple all-in-one shampoo. Oh, so that's what it's called. After seeing mine's hair get so clean, I wanted to try some of whatever it was she made. I couldn't just ask after I'd gotten so mad at her, though, and just imagining it made me feel awkward. Do you want to try some too? Mine asked me with a smile. There's enough here for both of us. Plus, you gathered the marrow and the herbs, right? You even did all the juicing for me. In an instant, all of my awkwardness blew away. She was right that I'd gathered and prepared all the ingredients. I undid my braid, then put my hair into the tub and tried to copy what mine had done. She even helped out, sticking her tiny hands in the water and using them to wash the places I couldn't quite reach. That should be enough, mine eventually said, as so I got to work drying my hair. It was normally so poofy that I struggled to comb it, but now it was all smooth and straight. On top of that, it was so glossy, just like mine's. It was like she cast a magic spell on me. Wow, your hair's super pretty now, mine said as she eagerly ran the comb through it. And you smell so nice. For some reason, she seemed even happier than I was. I'm glad to be clean now, but why does mine know so much about this stuff all of a sudden? My little sister had definitely gotten weird, and the thought of her getting even weirder each time she came down with a fever was kind of scary. Okay, let's clean up. Hold it right there. Just as we were about to put the tub away, Mom came over and started washing her hair too. I turned to look at mine, and we both giggled. My little sister was weird, that was for sure, but I was actually looking forward to whatever strange thing she might be doing next. Okay, let me check. Okay, 13 minutes. Lutz, My Savior, a previously unpublished chapter that appeared in the web novel around the time of Part 1, Volume 1. Lutz works with his brothers to gather Peruse, a very valuable winter fruit. These events didn't appear in any of the light novels since mine wasn't there to witness them, but they show how Peruse are actually collected. Author's note, it wasn't until this chapter that I properly fleshed out Sieg and Zasha. Before then, they were just Big Bros 1 and 2. This is also the first chapter to show off the magical nature of the Bookworm world. Come on, Lutz, wake up. My older brother Zasha knocked me awake with a firm kick. I got out of bed, rubbing my eyes, and glanced at the crack under the window. For the past few days, the blizzard had kept any light from coming through, but now I could see something dazzlingly bright. That means the weather's clear. My drowsiness disappeared all at once as I threw open the window, not caring how cold it would make the room. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky. Sure, the whole city was still covered in snow, but the sunlight made it look all nice and glittery. I shut the window and raced to the kitchen. Clear days like these were rare, so kids and adults all rushed to the forest as soon as possible. We really didn't want to be late. Hurry up, Lutz! My third elder brother had already eaten breakfast and was busily getting ready. I took some hard black bread, dunked it in some warm milk to soften it up, then scarfed it down before joining him. Today was a great day for gathering. Everybody would go to the forest to get Peruse, which could only be found during winter. They were in pretty high demand since sweets were hard to come by no matter the time of year, so we needed to act fast if we wanted any for ourselves. Ralph wasn't the only one coming with me today. Zasha and Zeke were joining us instead of doing their usual apprentice work. We put on our baskets and the like, and then rushed outside. With the 4 of us working together, we were sure to get a ton of peruse. Mom was standing by the well, and she gave us all a wave as she noticed us. Going to the forest? Be careful, okay? And try to get as many as you can. We weren't surprised to see her. She was always out here gossiping with the neighbors. I'm real impressed she can put up with that cold for so long. Like, woo! Also standing by the well was Mrs. Effa. She and Mom were good friends, so I'd grown up playing with her daughters, Tuli and mine. Tuli and Gunter had already left, Mrs. Effa said. You might want to hurry. Mom was probably staying at home. She always ended up bedridden when she went outside, especially on days like this. Just last autumn, while making her way to the farm for Pig Day, she'd apparently fallen sick and passed out in the wagon. The same thing had happened the year before, too. Really sucks that she missed out on the fresh sausages. They're real good. Mine was tiny, weak, adorable, and pretty much barely clinging to life. We were the same age, but she was like a little sister to me. Oh yeah, back during winter prep, didn't she say something about wanting some plant stems? That's rare for her. Wonder what she's going to do with them. By the time we'd passed through the south gate and reached the forest, the battle for peruse had already started. Everyone was going nuts for them. And for good reason. They're a rare sweet you could only find on really clear winter days when the snow was still thick on the ground. See, go to that tree. The moment Zasha gave the instruction, my second elder brother let go of the rope connecting to our sled and ran off. He pushed through the snow on his way to the Peru tree, then immediately started climbing it. The rest of us moved away and started preparing a fire. We dug into the snow until we could see the earth underneath, then put down and ignited some firewood. Zeke was still up in the tree, deciding which fruit to pick. It's about done, Zasha said to me. Get ready. At his say-so, I made my way up the tree myself, aiming to reach Zeke. Like all Peru trees, it had bark as white as ice and snow, and while all the branches made it easy to climb, the fruit only grew really high up. To make things even more complicated, Peru trees weren't normal trees. They were fey plants. You couldn't just remove their fruit with knives, which was made it annoying to get. It wasn't long before I reached Zeke. Ready, let's? Just a moment. I quickly pulled off my gloves and grabbed the thin branch that Zeke was holding. He put his own gloves on, then hurried back down the tree. So cold. Let's you do the rest. Shouldn't be much longer. The branch I was squeezing was cold as ice, and the air had a biting chill to it. My body temperature was going down fast. Hurry up and fall already. I was using my bare hands for a reason. You had to warm Peru branches to harvest their fruit. Using fire absolutely wasn't an option because the mana in the tree would put out the fire. Okay, so I'm guessing that, like everything else, it sucks out mana, but since commoners have so little mana at all, or barely any mana, it makes their temperature go down even more, because that's what happened when mine ended up giving her mana for the first time. She ended up passing out, but she was cold instead of hot. Still nothing? Come on, what was that about it not taking much longer? I could feel the branch gradually getting softer, but the fruit just wasn't falling. My fingers were prickling and starting to go numb, but just as I was about to call for someone to take my place, there was movement. I'll trade. It's almost done, Zasha. Ralph, here it comes. The moment Zasha grabbed the branch, the Peru fruit was about as big as my face, dropped straight down. He had been warming his hands by the fire, so they were a lot warmer than mine were now. Ralph was waiting below to grab the fallen fruit. Head back to the fire and warm up, Zasha said to me. Your hands are bright red. He then went for the hunt for the next fruit. I put my gloves back on and climbed down the tree, being extra careful not to fall. Then after running over to the fire, I took my gloves off again and held my hands up to the crackling heat. The feeling slowly returned to my fingers, along with a prickling ache. I'm tossing the fruit over, Ralph shouted. Get ready. He threw the Peru in our direction, then climbed up the tree to trade places with Zasha. The fruit hit the ground a short distance away and rolled over, at which point Zeke snatched it up and dropped it in our basket. Thankfully, Perus were like clumps of ice. As long as it was cold, they couldn't break no matter how rough you were with them. Whew, talk about cold, Zasha said, rubbing his hands as he hurried over to the fire. You go get the next one, Zeke. Right. It was Zeke's turn to put on gloves and run to the tree. Coordination was a key part of Peru gathering, and the more people with warm hands you had to switch around, the better off you were. We'd managed to get 5 Perus so far. Almost noon, Zasha said, glaring up at the sky. Think you can get one more? Let's get your hands so warm as possible, then go swap with Zeke. My hands were still red, worse still, either because of the icy branches, or because I was holding them on close to the fire, they turned completely numb again. Days like this didn't come often, though. If we could get one more Peru, then I was going to try. I warmed myself up as best I could, then ran back to the tree, then climbed all the way up to where Zeke was waiting. It's getting kind of soft. Shouldn't take much longer. Got it. Just as Sieg and I were trading places and our sixth fruit was about to fall, light shone down from above. It was noon. The leaves of the Peru trees sparkled as brilliantly as jewels, and the trees themselves began shaking as if they had a mind of their own, creating a loud rustling sound. "Oh no, get down, Lutz," my brother shouted, just as the bough beneath me began to shake. I'd already began leaning away from the tree to warm the branch of the fruit on it, so I soon lost my footing entirely. Next thing I knew, I was dangling from the branch and nothing more. Whoa. I instinctively reached out and grabbed the branch with my other hand. "No, Lutz, let go. You need to get down, now." But before I could even react, the branch became too soft to hold my weight. It snapped, sending me and the Peru hurling toward the ground. Ah! After a bit of a shock, the thick, fluffy snow broke my fall. Because I'd been hanging from the branch, I'd also landed on my feet so I wasn't hurt or anything. All around us, people were jumping down from the trees. Peru gathering time was over. There was even more rustling as the Peru trees began growing up toward the sky. They quickly became the tallest trees in the forest as they searched for the sun, waving their lush green leaves like a girl shaking her hair. The light soon reached the fruit that hadn't been gathered, making it shoot off in all directions. Once all the fruit was gone, the Peru tree basically started to melt, becoming smaller and smaller until they disappeared completely. That was the end of their life cycle. They only showed up on the winter days and were different from any other tree in the forest. Well, that's that. Time to go home. We all got our Perus and made our way back home. Every home would be preparing sweets this afternoon. Getting the fruit was hard work, but the results were something to look forward to. Guess we get one each. The Perus had been about as big as my face back in the forest, but the outer layer had started to melt soon after we left. By the time we got home, they were much smaller than before. Are the bowls ready? We used the fireplace to ignite some thin twigs and pushed them into our Perus. The burning wood broke through the skin, and out came the thick white juice. A sweet aroma quickly filled the house. My mouth was watering as I made sure to get all the sweet-smelling fruit juice into my cup. Part of me wanted to drink it all at once, but it was such a valuable sweet that I knew I should treasure every drop. After getting out the juice, we crushed the rest of the fruit to get some oil. It could be used for cooking or as fuel for lamps, so it was really nice to have this late into the winter. Soon enough, we'd squeezed the Perus into small pieces. They were dry and barely edible, but they were good for the chickens. We knew that because the chickens that ate Peru scraps made even tastier eggs. "Excuse me, I'm here for a trade." Lots of people came to our house to trade their Peru scraps for eggs. Personally, I didn't think it was a very good idea. Or a very good deal. The chickens loved the scraps, sure, but we probably could have been better off eating the eggs ourselves. At least bring us some meat or something. We always cook enough eggs to get one each, but when we have meat, my brothers take it all before I could even get a chance. As I was thinking that, mine and Tuli showed up. They brought a bag containing maybe 2 Perus worth of scraps. "Let's hear, we'll trade you 3 for eggs." Mine said, wearing a great big smile. She eagerly offered me the bag. I wasn't too happy about the exchange, but I couldn't just turn them away or else Mom would yell at me. "We've already got enough animal feed," I said. "Got any meat instead? My older brothers keep stealing all of mine." Most of my family stayed at home during winter, which meant my food got stolen more often. In other words, I was hungry pretty much all the time. I knew there was no point in grumbling to Tuli and mine, but I couldn't help myself. "It's hard to fight back when they're so much bigger," Tuli said with a sympathetic smile, brushing my complaints aside. Mine must have had some kind of idea, though, because she suddenly thrust the bag at me again. "Okay, why not just eat this?" "That's just for the birds," I yelled without even thinking. I've always been nice to mine, so why was she making such a cruel suggestion? In response to my outrage, mine just tilted her head at me and muttered, "Not even make it right." "Huh?" "It's only inedible when you squeeze all the juice out. Even leftovers can taste really good if you prepare them right." Mine was getting serious, but her words were so hard to believe. I mean, nobody ate chicken feed. I looked at Tuli for an explanation, but she just shrugged and gave a tired smile. As it turned out, mine had eaten the actual fruit part of a Peru before. "Seriously?" I cried. "That's such a waste. Sure, you could eat the Peru and be done with it, but it's way more efficient to squeeze out the juice and oil than give the rest to the chickens." In truth, it was at this time of year that we needed chicken feed the most, so nobody here would ever think about eating it. Besides, it was crazy to imagine working so hard for some fruit and then not using it efficiently. Mine was probably the only person in the whole city dumb enough to do something like that. "You said yourself that you have enough feed, right?" Mine asked. "Then shouldn't you guys eat these scraps yourselves?" "Are you listening? The leftovers are so dry that nobody would eat them. They only end up like that because people squeeze as much oil out of them as possible. If you are a little more creative, they're fine to eat." You know, mine. I could feel my strength draining away. Mine kept saying all these crazy things, and with that, an innocent smile on her face. What's this I'm feeling? It's like I can't convince her no matter what I say. Is it powerlessness? A sense of defeat? Let's, Tuli said quietly. At last, a voice of reason. Mine was sure to listen when her big sister Tuli explained that chicken feed wasn't for humans. Dang it. But in response to my hopeful stare, Tuli just hung her head. I know it's hard to believe, she continued, but the scraps really are edible. They taste so good that it's kind of shocked me. Wait, seriously? She made you eat chicken feed, Tuli? Mine had already tried the weird idea on her family. That explained why she was so confident about it. You just need to taste it for yourself, Mine said, sticking some of the dry-looking scraps in a small cup. Do you have any fruit juice left over? She ended up adding 2 small spoonfuls of my share of the fruit juice to her cup of scraps before mixing it all together. She took a tiny bite and nodded to herself. Open wide, Lutz, she said. As if making me eat chicken feed wasn't bad enough, she'd wanted me to waste some of my precious Peru juice, too? It all seemed way too vicious, but after seeing Mine eat some without batting an eye, I nervously opened my mouth. Mine dipped a finger in the yellow stuff we'd made, then placed some on my tongue. The sweetness spread through my mouth right away. It was amazing to think that just a little bit of juice had completely changed the taste of the Peru piece and made these not dry at all. I was used to drinking my share of the juice we made, trying to savor it as best I could, but now I could make it last even longer by mixing it with scraps. See, Mine said, smiling proudly, sweet and tasty, isn't it? But the words had barely left her mouth when my brothers, who had been watching suspiciously up until now, rushed over and swarmed me. Seriously, let me try some, Lutz. At once they all stuck their fingers into the little cup. I grabbed it and tried to keep them away, but it was no use. They were so much bigger than me. Hey, let go, I cried. What kind of people steal from their own little brother? Your stuff is my stuff. Share your tasty food with everyone, Lutz. All right, I got it. My resistance did nothing. They snatched the cup away from me and then kept prodding the grubby little fingers inside. In the blink of an eye, there was nothing left. My Peru, I shouted, but my brothers were too busy gaping at Mine to pay me any notice. Tasty. Was that really chicken feed? As if she hadn't already done enough, Mine shyly scratched her cheek and said something even more unbelievable. I can make something even better while I'm here. For real? I couldn't blame my brothers for jumping at the offer. Zasha, the oldest, was always complaining about being hungry no matter how much he ate. Having another way to make chicken feed into something delicious would be awesome. But I might need some help, Mine continued. Since I'm weak and all, I was already well aware that she didn't have any strength or stamina. If all she needed was to make some tasty sweets with a helping hand, then I was fully on board. All right, I said, leave it to me. Hold on, Lutz, one of my brothers said. You ain't getting it all for yourself. We're helping too. Mine, I'm a lot stronger than him anyway. All of a sudden, they became really willing to assist us. I was worried that there wouldn't be anything for me to do, but Mine happily gave us all tasks to complete. Yay! Okay, I want you two to get me a metal griddle we can cook with. Lutz can prepare the ingredients, and Ralph can mix them. Oh, and it wouldn't be fair to only use Lutz's juice, so how about you all contribute, okay? Come on, everyone, let's see your juice. No use hiding it. She clapped her hands together like Mom would do, acting as if she were an adult, then got us all to put our juice on the table. At that moment, I really thought she was a genuine angel. If she hadn't forced my brothers to chip in as well, they definitely would have mooshed off of me. Lutz, would you get 2 eggs and some milk? Ralph mixed them together with that spatula over there. Mine was normally useless, but here she was instructing us all with a lively expression. Zasha and Zeke brought over the griddle and started warming it on the hearth. Meanwhile, Mine was adding ingredients to a bowl while Ralph was mixing them all together with a wooden spatula. I was running around and getting all the other things Mine asked me for. Okay, that should be good, she eventually said. Lutz, do you have butter? We did, so I went and got some. Mine took a small spoonful, then climbed onto a tallish chair to reach the hearth. We were all watching her with our hearts in our throats, worried that she might fall, but she probably hadn't noticed. The butter hissed as soon as it touched the pan and started to get smaller. At the same time, it gave off a delicious smell that made me feel even hungrier. Mine then used a bigger spoon to pour in the batter that Ralph had been mixing. The hissing was replaced with the sizzling, and the buttery aroma became mixed with the sweetness of the Perus. It smelled dangerously good. The actual butter reminded me of the pancakes Mom made from grated potato fulls, but ours was sure to be sweeter. And that's how you do it, Mine said. Would you all work together to make more? Now that she had given a demonstration, she was leaving the rest of the cooking to us. At most, she was going to watch the griddle and give instructions. That was fine, though. We only needed to see the process once to learn how to do it ourselves. Plus, it was much safer to have the taller people deal with all the cooking, while having to watch Mine wobble on top of a chair wouldn't be good for any of our hearts. My brothers must have agreed because they took the cooking utensils from her right away. When they get bumpy, it means they're ready, Mine told us. You should turn that one over now. Zasha used a spatula to flip over one of the Peru pancakes. The underside was really good color, so good that I nearly drooled. I could hear everyone else swallowing hard, too. Move that pancake over, Mine said, pointing at the griddle. You can cook another one on the open spot. Once the pancake was cooked enough, it was moved to the side of the griddle. Then more butter and batter were added to the newly made spot. The ones that Mine said were fully cooked were stacked on a plate. It wasn't long before we had an entire plate of pancakes. Ta-da! Mine announced. Simple okra pancakes. She was wearing a beaming smile, but none of us had a clue what she just said. We all stared at her a little bit weirded out. What? I eventually said, say that again? Mine pulled an awkward face like she just made some kind of mistake and said, simple Peru cakes? The Peru cakes now sitting on the table were giving off so much steam I wanted to wolf them all down at once. Go ahead and eat up, Mine said, but be careful, they're hot. I broke off a bite-sized piece and stuck it in my mouth. As it turned out, Peru cakes were shockingly tasty. To start with, they were fluffy, not at all dry like chicken feed, and unlike the potato pancakes that Mom made, they were plenty sweet even without jam. I didn't have to worry about my brothers taking my share either since we'd all gotten one each. Hey, let's, Mine said. They were pretty simple to make, right? And don't they fill you right up? They do, Mine. I don't know what to say. You're amazing. We had tons of Peru scraps from all the people who'd come to trade with us, and our chickens laid eggs non-stop, so we had plenty to give. Some people even gave us milk for our eggs, so we'd be able to make Peru cakes all winter long. I know of some other things you can make with Peru leftovers, but I'm too weak to do all the cooking myself. I'll make them for you if you teach me how. After today's events, one thing was clear to me. If I follow Mine's instructions, I'll get to eat more tasty food. And so Mine started coming over on sunny days to teach us how to make new tasty dishes from Peru's. It was thanks to her that I'd spent the winter way less hungry than usual. She's my savior. That's when I'm going to use my strength and stamina, things she doesn't have, to help her out. From that point on, I was determined to assist Mine however I could. It was a decision that would end up changing my entire life. Though at the time, I was too overjoyed by Peru cakes to realize it. Okay. I think I'm gonna have this one stop for the time being, and then I'll make another one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.